so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to the Juice Pro Wrestling episode 96. Absolute power. Absolute power with the one, the only, the Emmy award-winning journalist and news anchor and the voice of NWA Powerrr, Joe Galli. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, you sound super juiced tonight.
You know, I always got to keep it wet.
What's good, brother?
Oh, man. Just wrapped up an episode with a great promoter out here in the Chicagoland region, Steve Tortorello from Warrior Wrestling. Those guys are killing it. Getting ready to shoot the shit with you, and I'm super pumped, man. You are our second guest from the newly invigorated NWA, which I've absolutely been enjoying. And every Tuesday at 6, my girlfriend knows when I get off of work, it's like, hey, I'll text her randomly during the day, like, you ready to go? And she's like, I'm ready. We're going to go into the fire at 6:05. And it's a good time.
I hope she appreciates it. I hope she's not one of these girlfriends that, you know, she loves you, but she's not particularly interested in wrestling, and you just kind of sit her on the couch.
I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad you said that because, no, she does sit on the couch with me, but she is invested, like, in the storylines.
Oh, good.
And it's
I'm
so
very happy
cool.
to hear that.
It's really cool. I've never really had a girl like that can, you know, like, sit and, like, watch wrestling with me.
She's a keeper, man.
She's a keeper. She loves NWA and she loves AEW Dynamite right now. It's she's all about it.
Two very good shows.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, as I alluded to a couple seconds ago, I mean, dude, so you're pretty involved in the news business. I mean, that's what you graduated from college was journalistic approach. Let's see here. News 4 and Fox San Antonio news anchor.
That's right. That's where I'm at right now.
2016 Emmy Award winner.
That's right. Oh boy, you've done your homework.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, a little bit. California State University grad.
That's right.
You know,
go Matadors.
Hell yeah, not Tito Santana, who was also a recent guest of the show. And Matadori, hated that gimmick.
Yeah.
What got you into, like, journalism and news and all that?
It was sort of by accident. I was actually going to Cal State Northridge to get a degree in screenwriting. Nice. But at the time, I was also I was a full-time student and full-time worker to try to pay my way through. I was doing retail loss prevention at Rite Aid. And I just couldn't swing the film program at Cal State Northridge. As with most colleges in the Los Angeles area, their film programs are strong because they need to be strong, just because of where they are geographically. And so I was like, man, I'll never graduate just because of the schedule and me having to be, you know, working 40 hours a week. And so journalism was in the same building. And I looked at that schedule and I was like, oh, well, this will work. And so I was going to school for it. And honestly, I wasn't taking it too seriously. I was kind of just going to get a degree. I didn't really think I would be a professional journalist at the time. And so I made this really stupid, goofy demo reel. And at the time, I was also a pro wrestler, and I was training at a school called the Fit Pit. Yeah. And the beginning of my demo reel was me in a full suit in the middle of the ring taking a Death Valley driver from Brawlin' Bo Cooper, one of the guys who was teaching at my school. And so I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but there was a consultant working for the NBC affiliate in Toledo, Ohio, which you're going to love the call letters for this. It was WNWO. And so it was sort of a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And they were looking for a fun, goofy morning reporter guy. You know, some TV stations have that. It's the person that's like, you know, it's National Pancake Day. I'm at the Pancake House. Whatever.
Slap me silly.
Yeah. And so I did. So they hired me to go and be this fun morning reporter guy. And I was like, all right, cool. And I just, you know, I packed up my tiny Ford Focus at the time and drove from LA to Toledo, Ohio. And I was there for a number of years. It didn't take long for things to change. I got to that station and it really wasn't making the numbers that you'd like.
Right.
And so the company that owned it at the time made a lot of changes, meaning a lot of new management. And they decided to transition pretty quickly away from having a fun morning show to having a traditional morning news broadcast.
Oh, some boring bullshit, right?
It's the standard stuff that you see.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, it's what most people want. They want
Right.
to wake up in the morning. They want to know their headlines. They want to know what the traffic is, and they want to know what the weather is. They don't particularly want to see me at a pole dancing class doing that stuff, which I brought my gear, and I was doing that in my wrestling boots and the shirt I used to go out to the ring in.
Nice.
And so they're like, well, you've got to be a journalist now. And I was like, okay. And then I just started from there. And then it just kind of kept on going. And I was wrestling a little bit as I was working a little bit out up in Michigan. I worked a couple of shows. I couldn't even tell you the companies that I worked for. It was so long ago now. And then I got a job at a cable station north of Allentown in the Lehigh Valley. And so I did a couple of shows with Lehigh Valley Wrestling when I was a reporter out there. And that didn't last too long before I got, I guess I got a little homesick, I guess you could say. And so I finally got out of that gig and I found a job at KESQ, the ABC affiliate in Palm Springs, California. So I was only, my family's all living in Los Angeles. And so it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started working there. And at the time, my best friend, Brandon Taylor, who wrestles as Robert Baines, and he is currently a member of the managerial staff at the LA Dojo for New Japan.
Yep.
He was the Hollywood Heritage Champion at Dave Marquez's program, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And at the time, Todd Kennelly was
I
leaving
love
to
Todd.
go
To Impact.
Todd's great.
To Impact, right?
Todd's great. What was that?
Were you talking he was leaving to go to Impact, or is this before?
He was.
Okay.
He was. This was right as he was leaving to go to Impact. And he's like, I talked to Dave. They're looking for a guy. Why don't you come out and try it? And I said, sure. And I came out, and it just happened to be the Red Carpet Rumble, which is their biggest show. It's, their version of the Royal Rumble. And I did a couple of backstage interviews, and Dave really liked it, and he liked me. And he said, come back next taping. And then the next taping, Todd was gone and I was in. And so I sat next to Johnny LaQuasto, who now goes by John Quasto on 205 Live. He's been calling, I think he's called 2 episodes of that so far. He typically does all the live shows for NXT. So he's, doing the circuit in Florida mostly, and then along the East Coast. And I sat next to Johnny for a number of years, and that's where I met Dave Lagana and Billy Corgan when they were starting the 10 Pounds of Gold series. Because if you go all the way back on the NWA YouTube and you look at the first episode of the 10 Pounds of Gold, it's Tim Storm at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yep.
So that's where I met them, and they liked how I called the action there. Also, for all you fans out there that are recent fans of NWA Powerrr and they like Zicky Dice, if you go back to those original episodes of 10 Pounds of Gold, you will see Tim Storm defend the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Zicky Dice, who is also probably about 100 pounds heavier in that match.
Yeah. Dude, amazing transition he's made, man.
And I'm sure he talked about this on your podcast. I mean, he is slimmed down, he is leaner, he is meaner, he is healthier, and that's why we love him on NWA Powerrr. He just brings so much character and intensity. And he has that perfect fit for this environment.
Yeah, but, he's got an old school feel, too. He kind of reminds me of almost like an Adrian Adonis mixed with Hercules Hernandez mixed with, God, I don't even know. There's a million names that could come to mind.
There is. And I think what's great is you can see all those similarities, but it's also very much him.
Yeah.
And it's a very individual. It's not like he's trying to be somebody else. It's this guy is his own guy. And yes, he has this throwback gimmick, and you feel like he's stepping out of a time machine, and it's exactly the kind of fun stuff that we want on our program.
Right.
So, yeah, that's how I got my start, because my wrestling career and my broadcast journalism career, which then turned into my broadcast wrestling career, all kind of started at about the same time, and then just kind of got married together at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And I worked for Dave Marquez there, and I worked for him at his sister promotion, Championship Wrestling from Arizona, for a number of years as well. And if your listeners are interested at all, you can catch all of those on Fight TV as well. It's a weekly broadcast, and they still put out an amazing product that's there. I mean,
did you guys ever have Hammerstone
Peter
out there?
Avalon, the librarian at AEW, still produces Championship Wrestling from Arizona.
Yes, he does. Doesn't he have a stake in it? Doesn't he own part of it?
Yeah, well, I believe that would be considered a storyline for you, but he is an executive producer over Championship Wrestling from Arizona. It's very much Peter's show, along with Mick Greenwood and a few other guys that put that show together. But it's great talent that come out of there. I think Championship Wrestling from Arizona or Championship Wrestling Hollywood shares a lot of similarities with NWA Powerrr.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically a studio environment out of the Ocean View Pavilion, whereas Championship Wrestling from Arizona is shot in a nightclub called the Nile Theater. And it's got a very different feel to it. It's a really fun feel. We've done a lot of outlandish things. For instance, I'm technically dead in Arizona.
Ooh.
When I
zombie.
When I moved it only in Arizona. It's very clear. They killed me off, and once again it was my good friend, or I guess my arch rival Robert Baines choked me to death. So it makes it a little difficult if I ever want to make a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I put a sheet over my head and cut 2 little holes in it and haunt the theater or something like that. But
yeah, gotta be careful though. It's 2020.
It's been a crazy ride. A crazy ride, and I never knew that it would lead to me being a voice on a weekly televised wrestling show that would get so much adulation from all the wrestling fans out there that are really enjoying it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest here, Joe. I mean, it's a significant show, and it's not also let me rephrase it. It's a significant show, and it is also a really interesting show it's a lot different. It's a hell of a lot different than anything else that's out there. Like, AEW, which is a great show. I love it. I love the promotion. They were preaching all this change and difference and a true alternative. And I think in a lot of ways they are. But you guys, I mean, it's the proof's in the pudding. It's right fucking there. It's NWA Powerrr is it's a time warp, but it's fresh. It's what the fans have wanted. They wanted just, you have your entertainment aspects, but it's really no bullshit. It's like watching for you old school fans out there that were watching the old NWA or like early WCW, when Crockett and stuff got bought out. It gives you that vibe, that feel of those old school guys being up there. It's just modern day dudes, and you get the extra flavor, the cherry on the fucking cake, if you will, of guys like the Rock and Roll Express or, the Big Bad Buddha Daddies, Scott Steiner coming back and all that shit. Like, you guys have it all. And it's an hour. That's what I loved about like promotions like Lucha Underground that I thought was really cutting edge for its time. And really, to me, was like the modern day ECW. I think you guys are kind of in that same spot where, you're taking it to a different level. You're giving a little bit of that throwback, but it's just enough flavor to give that sentimental value, but it's still modern. It's still hip. You're doing your own thing. Billy is rocking on all cylinders. Like, it's great what you guys are doing. And I'm not trying to be a kiss ass because I don't play that shit. It's just, I fucking love enjoying watching your product every week, as do a lot of people, because it is a true alternative. And it's a great throwback mixed with the modern, a lot of different modern aspects of professional wrestling.
And I think what really is great about it, and you alluded to it, is our time frame. It's an hour. We have a few episodes. Like, for instance, our episode tomorrow, as we lead into Hard Times, will be a little bit longer than that because we got some extra things and we got some surprises for you folks. So you want to make sure that you tune in and subscribe to our NWA YouTube station and make sure that you click the little bell to get your reminders that it's coming on. Because, we say 6:05, but we've got viewers all over the world. And we actually get a lot of people message, at least in the early days, we had a lot of people message us, I'm in Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
What time is it come on?
Well, and that's the great thing about YouTube. Yeah. YouTube, you don't need to fucking DVR. And I remember watching the early 10 Pounds of Gold in early interviews with Billy, how he was talking about the way professional wrestling and just TV consumption in general has changed. You don't need, even the DVR, you don't need it. You got YouTube. You can put out a product on YouTube and still make it financially beneficial to your cause, or at least use that as a starting platform to get something bigger, and totally be fine. And it's been crazy to watch, like, a lot of shit what he said come true and happen, and it's awesome. It's been a blessing for wrestling fans because they need that. You guys are so different that it really sticks out amongst the Impact, who is also very different nowadays compared to everybody else, and AEW and ROH. You guys are swimming in a big plethora of wrestling that is going on right now, and there's so much to consume. There really is. It's almost too much, especially with the way that, like, these independent talents are nowadays, and some of these indie promotions are just like badass, and we got a lot of them out here where I'm at in Chicagoland. But you guys, man, you have that lineage, those 3 letters, NWA, and we we ain't talking about Straight Outta Compton. It's in professional wrestling. There is the I love it when Nick Aldis says the real world's champion. I love that shit, man. Like, it gets me fucking jacked. Like, he's right. There is a reason to respect that belt and the heritage, the lineage of what the NWA was. And, like, it's almost like this phoenix rising from the ashes, of what all the poor mismanagement throughout, like the 90s and 2000s or whatever, till Billy took over. And it's so, to me, like, cutting edge. It's really different, man. It's really got a niche. And to have the hour time slot is great, because a lot of these viewers nowadays, it's short attention spans. And it doesn't matter if you're watching wrestling. I mean, you're in the entertainment business. You know this. People want their shit and they want it now, and then they want to crap it out and forget about it and go on to the next.
Yeah, a lot of people really enjoyed the Conor McGregor fight. It's just the people that had to pay for the pay-per-view that didn't particularly like it.
Exactly. And there was probably a 50-50 on that.
This is what a lot of people want to see, and they want to be able to do that sort of stuff. And so we try to make things digestible, and we actually put out a lot of content, especially on Twitter and on our Facebook page, where it's the shorter clips, so that people can get caught up and people can see what we're offering every time. And to just go back a little bit to what you were saying about the importance of that brand with the NWA and the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, all you have to do, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are probably avid fans of NXT.
Yeah.
I know I am.
Yep.
And if you look at NXT right now, they're going back and having the Dusty Classic. Well, what's the picture they use of Dusty Rhodes? It's Dusty Rhodes holding the 10 pounds of gold. Yep. There's 100 million photos of Dusty Rhodes they could use, but they're deliberately choosing the one where he's holding the NWA World Heavyweight Championship because it means something. And it meant something to Dusty, and it meant something to everybody who's had the privilege of carrying that championship. And I think people understand that, and they understand how deep those roots run, not only in that particular brand, but really for all the professional wrestling and the foundation that it led to everything that came after it. I mean, especially things like WCW.
Yeah.
I mean, just it changed. It enabled the landscape to continue to change, and to be a part of this rebirth of the 10 pounds of gold is phenomenal. The response from gentlemen like yourself and even just casual wrestling fans is fantastic. And I have to say, like, there's a lot of people out there that are super passionate about pro wrestling, and they remember matches that happened on specific dates and when titles changed and all that. And those people are great, but they're fewer and far between than the casual wrestling fan.
Exactly.
And our show really does appeal to them, even if they can't remember every match that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had. They'll be able to come in, identify with our characters, see the story that we're trying to tell, and get an hour's worth of entertainment for it. And it's free. It's 100% free.
Yeah.
And it's available anywhere in the world. And I think what the downside, and we get a lot of people, and I've done quite a few of these interviews, and one of the big questions that I get asked is, when is it going to end up on a major cable network.
I wasn't going to ask
one of your albums. And I appreciate that, but you can. I'm an open book. You can ask me whatever you like. But my answer to that is, for me, I would be happy for us to stay where we are, even indefinitely.
I agree.
It's profitable.
I agree.
We're still profitable right now. We're making money. We're increasing our staff, both what you're going to see as far as our wrestlers in the ring. Our roster is going to grow, as well as the people in the back that you don't see. We have an enormous amount of support staff that's putting more product together. You're going to see announcements coming up about Circle Squared and Girl Power and all these other shows and ancillary things that are all feeding this NWA beast. And we're able to do it without anybody telling us what we should or could do. You know, Tony Khan can go and make decisions at AEW if he chose to, because it's his thing.
Yeah.
Nobody tells Billy and David Lagana what to do.
Right.
And I think that that's what makes our show so special. You know, Billy Corgan's made it very clear. He's the only owner of a weekly televised professional wrestling program that's not a billionaire.
Right.
We're all owned by billionaires. And so he's going at this, and granted, it's not like he's struggling for cash.
No.
But he's producing this product that we want to put on par that these juggernauts that can just throw tons of money at. And and we're pulling it off, and people are enjoying the product, and it's continuing to grow. And that's just what's so fantastic about it.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you this, Joe, and Billy ain't no fucking slouch either. He knows what's up. Timing is everything. You know, if it wasn't, you know, the Smashing Pumpkins wouldn't have existed. It's a great time for professional wrestling, and especially a brand and like what you guys, your product you're putting out, is because it is the return of the territories. It's the return of like, hey, you know, everybody as a wrestling fan was so fed up for the last damn near 20 years of the one horse in the stable, so to speak. And the way that was presented, it's just, you know, whatever. I try to be as positive as possible, but there's a lot of garbage.
I get it. And at the same time, there were other alternatives out there, but they were harder to find.
Yeah.
It was harder to go ahead and watch the things on Ring of Honor or New Japan. Which, you know, I as a teenager, I really loved watching New Japan stuff, but it was hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And now a lot of these promotions, I mean, they're killing it because the talent, for one, I've never seen I don't want to say genre, man, what's the word I'm looking for? A era, we'll look for that, of professional wrestling, independent wrestlers that are killing it, and they're feeding everybody. Look at all the top names pretty much in professional wrestling nowadays. They were like these crazy indie darlings. And America's favorite, or everybody's favorite sweetheart, CM Punk. It's a perfect fucking example of that, you know? And the talent pool from the indies nowadays, it's like that's what solidifies to me the return of the territories, because they're coming from everywhere, you know, in and out the United States, but, you know, everywhere across the United States. And you're getting guys like a Caleb Conley, you know? He's on your show. He did Impact, you know, he was killing it on the indies. Like, come on, like that talent pool is ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's a great time to be a pro wrestler. It's an especially great time to be a good pro wrestler, because there is such an appetite for it, especially from a live perspective. I mean, you could take shows here locally here in San Antonio. I think arguably our biggest promotion that runs out of here is a promotion called River City Wrestling. And I've done some commentary for their programs that they've had out here. I worked with Brandon Oliver. He's a great guy, and he brings in some really top tier talent, like Colt Cabana, for example, was their champion for a little while. I love Colt Cabana, and he fills out the arenas that he puts that show in. He fills every seat. And recently, you know, he actually did some partnerships with Impact, with the Bash at the Brewery, I think they called it out here. And it was at a local brewery here in San Antonio.
Great
and
show.
It looked fantastic. And they brought fantastic talent out here, and people want to go out and they want to see it. I think that's what's so important too, is you can't forget we talk about television and we talk about, social media. At the end of the day, putting butts in seats is just as important. And
Exactly.
so you have to be able to deliver that and give a good experience for people live.
Yeah.
And we are very focused in our studio wrestling program on NWA Powerrr for that television broadcast. But at that same time, I don't think a crowd has more fun at any other show than our show. That crowd is they're on their feet or on the edge of their seat that entire show. They're enjoying it and they get to interact with it.
Yeah, it's very vocal.
And I think that's what's really great about it.
And it's cool. And it's you can hear it if you guys, you're out there watching NWA Powerrr on YouTube whenever you do, because you have the ability to do that whenever you do. You hear all ages. I mean, we're talking young kids yelling at the wrestlers and giving them jive and whatever to the old guys, like it's to everything in between. It's great. You definitely feel the power, every pun intended on that one, when you watch NWA Powerrr. It's really cool.
The audience is very important to our show, and it should be important to every show. And unfortunately, I think that's where some organizations sort of fall flat.
Right.
Because you don't have that sort of chemistry all the time. And it's difficult for, the large organizations like WWE, just because of how much they need to put out there and the size of arenas that they're going in. Every once in a while, you'll just get a dead crowd and you might have a bad show. And that's going to happen when you're doing multiple shows a week on a consistent traveling basis. But that's what's great about our show is we know we're going to get super dedicated and a hot crowd, and it's gonna help our broadcast look and sound the way a wrestling broadcast should look.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And hey, man, it's more power to the way that media is being like consumed and presented, like through YouTube and all these different apps now and streaming services. Like that totally benefits you guys and anybody in the wrestling business. As much as social media, it's like there's never been a better time than now to really promote yourself and have a show and like get out there, especially if you have quality product. Like everybody knows WWE, they know the game in town, they know whatever. And even though there is a lot of disenfranchised fans out there with the product, it doesn't matter. They're still going to make money, because they are that big and they've been in the game that long. But I'm telling you what, man, with guys like you and Impact really firing, and AEW, everybody doing their own thing, there'll be a chunk taken from the juggernaut. And hey, man, I appreciate that, because back in 2001, when I graduated high school, ECW, WCW went under, and I was like, holy shit, man, wrestling is over. I never thought I'd see that day,
Well, it's just like any other business. If you don't have competition, you rest on your laurels. I mean, you could look just back at the American auto industry in the 60s and 70s, and then into the 80s. This country was putting out bad cars.
Yeah.
And so you had Germany and Japan who then stepped up, and then people started to buy those. And now, I mean, it used to be, 35, 40 years ago, you could go to a GM lot and basically go off the lot with a brand new lemon. And now, because you've had all this competition from all these places all over the world, you could go to any new car lot and go buy the cheapest car on that lot, and it'll be a great car because it forced everybody to up their game. So like there used to be a time where you could go and buy a bad brand new car, and that time doesn't really exist anymore. And it's because of competition.
Exactly.
And so the same thing happens with pro wrestling. If you have that competition, it forces you to step up, and it forces you to put out a good product. And WWE, I think right now is doing that, particularly on their NXT brand. I absolutely love 99.99% of the stuff that they put out on that show with the takeovers that they're having and everything like that.
Joe,
and I'm not just saying that because I got friends that work on it. I mean, it's a great product.
Let me tell you this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I absolutely 110% agree with that statement. But here's my thing. It sucks because to me, and the way what NXT is what WWE should be nowadays. throughout Raw and SmackDown. And it sucks that it's a third brand and it's just not who WWE is now, because NXT is what the wrestling business is, because that's the brand that, okay, Triple H and them, they listen. And not only that, dude, I don't care what anybody says. Triple H, the status he is at is huge, right? It's like unattainable to any of us, right? Like he's fucking Vince's son-in-law. He's got all this power, all this stroke, all this whatever. But dude, he is a fucking fan, you know. And NXT shows, like, I feel like when I'm watching that, it's like watching old school shit, like much like you guys. Like, it's, you know, I'm like watching WCW Saturday Night, but just modern day, and like these really insane athletes and great production.
Well, it's because they have to. And I mean, this goes back to competition. They're going toe to toe with AEW now. And even before then, I mean, they were still stepping up the game. But even since then, I mean, with the program that they've had, the hour-and-a-half long program that they have to put on, they know they need to raise that bar. And there isn't a whole lot of other wrestling that's on Mondays and Friday nights. So you don't have to do that. And they're still selling out the arenas, and they're still doing well enough. But I think for the casual wrestling fan, I think it's a fine product, and there's plenty of people who tune in and watch it all the time, or at least watch it regularly enough to where they're still very profitable. So you don't really need to make a whole lot of big changes with it. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of a deal. Well, at that same time, like, I don't know a single person other than other wrestling journalists who will sit on Monday night and watch an entire episode of Raw.
You can't.
I don't know a single person.
Can't do it anymore.
Unless they have to. Unless it's they're going to do a podcast about it. Or
even then, I'll be throwing motherfucker $20 or something. Hey, watch this shit for me. Give me cliff notes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's that bad.
And so I think the problem is that it's just too long, and if they just condensed it down, but they don't need to, because they're selling the advertising and they're making the money. Yeah. And so why? And they have a big enough roster to where they could fill out the matches.
Here's the thing, Joe. WWE is Coca-Cola, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. They don't have to do anything because they already are. You know, they just have to, like, kind of go through the motions at this point, and they're just going to generate revenue, you know? But that's what getting back to they are corporate. The day they went corporate, like, hey, it was all downhill from there, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to pump out and run it like, I mean, there's ways to run a business and be successful, and then just be like the way like big corporate America is. It's just, to me, it's disgusting, you know, because it's never about anybody else but themselves. And it's just,
it's hard to be a corporation and also put out art.
Exactly.
You know, entertainment is art. But at the same point, you have the other corporations that do it very well. Look at the movie industry right there. I mean, the Avengers movies, that whole series, every one of those movies is fantastic, and it's all part of the corporate Disney universe now. At the same time, they'll put out Dr. Dolittle, and nobody particularly wants to see that.
I know. It's like,
but it'll still make all the money that they spend on it. You know, it'll still pay Robert Downey Jr. So and that's the world we live in. But I think what's so great right now, especially for wrestling fans, is you have a choice. The choice is there.
Choice for
me.
You
can choose to watch Raw. You can choose to DVR it and fast forward through the parts you don't like. Or you could just choose to watch NWA Powerrr, and you could choose to get our pay-per-view, which, you know, you could pre-order right now. I mean, you have options out there, and
where can they pre-order that?
Our pay-per-views are a fantastic option, and people are really waking up to it.
Yeah. Where can people pre-order? Just through Fight, or is it?
Yeah, it's all everything's through Fight.
Okay.
It's $19.99 right now, but you know, with Fight, you buy it and you own it.
You own it.
Watch it as many times as you like.
Been there, done that,
and it stays on your account. And I think that's so fantastic, because then at the same point, if you can have I have the Fight app on my phone.
Yep.
And so I spend a lot of time watching my old programs, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona. I'll watch those on the elliptical at the gym.
Yeah.
And at that same point, I could be watching a pay-per-view for some other organization. Then I come back and there's a Fight TV app on my smart TV, and I can watch it here. So you have so many options to watch wrestling anywhere in the world. and you don't need to be strapped to your TV or strapped to a DVR.
See, and that's the weird thing, Joe. That's what throws me off. It's so crazy nowadays. Everybody really owes everything to fucking technology is what it boils down to, because like media consumption right now and for the past like couple years, maybe put it max 5. I mean, you know how technology is just rapidly evolving. The way we can consume media like we do, whether it's professional wrestling or baseball, football, basketball, movies, music videos, is just as fast as I said them, you know, if not faster. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy, man. It like, I don't know. In a way, it kind of throws me off. It makes me feel like weird, like, man, it's just everything is so much, so fast. Where's the organics in it, you know, like the real passion. And not that you don't get passionate products and stuff, but like, I don't know. It's like the way technology is. Everybody is so like, everything's just out there. Like, is it making people have ADD or what? Like you just, hey, I'm going to watch this, but oh, wait, I can't because I got to watch that. And then, oh, shit, there's that. And it doesn't matter. You can save it or do whatever. It's just so much access. I think the ease of access nowadays, I mean, everybody, every media person, mogul, I don't care what brand you are, has to like bow down to that because it's so ridiculous, dude.
I think the other thing that you get out of it is the connection. Mm-hmm. and direct access to pro wrestlers. I couldn't imagine as a child sending a message to good old JR and be like, "Hey man, I love you on Raw." But I could do that right now. I could send him a tweet and maybe he'd respond to it. And you see that a lot, especially with our guys and gals that are on NWA Powerrr, is we are very connected to that audience. And there's long conversations that they will have with folks and it opens a door. And once you make that sort of connection, you kind of get people hooked and you become, you know, part of their lifestyle, part of their landscape. Yeah. To a certain extent, for some folks that are really into it, part of their family. Yeah. And, you know, I think Thunder Rosa is a really good example of that. She is absolutely killing it when it comes to Instagram and having conversations with people and doing Ask Me Anythings. And I see that all the time. And granted, she came to NWA Powerrr with a pretty significant following, but it's grown exponentially on our program. And she puts the work in for it. And that's one of those things you got to do every day. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're able to connect with people. And once you've made that connection, they're going to follow you forever or until you turn heel. Yeah. Whichever comes first.
Hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, man. It's, dude, it's, and I'm very familiar with her social media interactions. And she, like I said, going back to Lucha Underground, excuse me, she killed it in that, you know, in AAA and all
she's
that.
She's fantastic. Yeah. She's fantastic there. I was cage side when she did her
the fight.
MMA fight for Combates Americanas. Mm-hmm. And she didn't win, but you know, every person out there that quote unquote knew MMA thought that she was going to get knocked out in the first round. And in all honesty, if you just look at the tail of the tape in that fight, this woman was a foot taller. She had so much more experience. She had all this Dutch kickboxing stuff. And it's like, oh man, but no, Thunder Rosa's too tough. She's not going to get knocked down and she's going to go the distance. Yeah. And she went all the way. And it was something that was incredible to watch. And it takes dedication, it takes hard work, and it takes determination to get yourself to that level as a mixed martial artist. And that just translates into everything else that she does. Yeah. In whether it's wrestling or anything else. And what's great about that is if you look at what she's doing, it's very similar to what you're seeing a lot of the other wrestlers that are on our broadcast. I mean, these are such dedicated veterans to the sport. And they've really found a place where they can really, what Billy Corgan likes to say, they can play their music and everybody likes what they're playing.
Yeah. You guys are rocking and rolling right now. You know, I mean, it's everything she done was great. And, you know, the tail of the tape aside, the fact that she got into the cage, you know, everybody talks a lot of shit, especially nowadays, you know, social media, everybody's got a voice and it's very unfortunate, but everybody does. She jumped in there and even I'm not a huge CM Punk fan, but guess what? Motherfucker jumped in there and he did it. He got his ass kicked, but he took that chance, knowing that. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to go into a fight that I know I'm going to get my ass kicked. I don't.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'd rather, that's why, hey, man, if you get into something involved in the streets or whatever, you never know. It's always spontaneous. But, like, he knew.
Right.
He knew.
Right.
And I'm sure he had confidence to, hey, I could at least do this. But you know what? He got in there. And same thing with her. She got in there and she did that. And she's not done. She's young,
Oh, no. She's still training. She's still very much doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and working on her strike game out here. She lives out here in San Antonio, Texas. So I follow her quite closely. And boy, she is not done doing that. I mean, she just came back from Japan. She won a championship over there, too. And she's not alone. We have plenty of other people who are part of NWA Powerrr, and what's great about our show is they get to go and work these other independent shows, and they get to be champions in other places. I think Marty Bell recently won a championship somewhere,
right? And
so it's happening everywhere. It's happening with a lot of our guys are seeing more success because of being on, maybe not because of being on our show, but I think that it certainly helps. It gets that exposure. Well,
yeah, it definitely helps with the exposure. We all know that. I mean, we could go back to, hey man, 3 simple fucking letters and that's it, like if you're a wrestling fan, I mean, that's the exposure right there. And the fact that you have a good product, but the fact that also they are appearing for whatever other promotion, and it's the ease of contract. That's why a lot of guys, I think, are going to be, will jump ship to go to either AEW or Impact, because of they don't have to work that grinding schedule, and with the way you guys tape and stuff, like, go ahead, like, as long as you're here for our bookings and you're healthy and in shape and can do it, let's do this, and then go do whatever the hell you want, because at the end of the day, you're an independent contractor. You got to make money. You may or may not have kids to feed, but you got your own mouth to feed. And that's right. I know a lot of promotions that kind of like, there's some promotions up here that are like, hey, yeah, if you're gonna come work for us, you can't work this guy and that guy and that guy. And hey, man, I do music, I do band shit. I've ran into that scenario in Chicago. It's like, hey, you're gonna play a show here at Reggie's this week, but you can't play House of Blues or something the week before. Like, what does it matter? Like, there's this unwritten rule that, like, no, dude, I gotta feed my fucking own in myself. I'm going to do it. As long as I can perform and do whatever for you, you're going to get it, And that's what I appreciate about that. And I'm sure the boys do, because like we said, in this new era of professional wrestling, this new generation of shit, like, people can do that. Men and women can do that now and have choices to go to Impact or ROH or whoever in these indies and work at their own leisure and make good money doing it.
Right. And I mean, even places like ROH are very receptive to having partnerships, and that's certainly something that you're seeing right now with Marty Scurll and Villain Enterprises. And
it's what we're doing right
business.
Now here, me and you connecting, networking,
right?
NWA, JP Dub coming together.
I love it.
Yeah. So you're out in San Antonio. I played out there, man. Let me tell you, that little river strip they got down there downtown.
The Riverwalk? Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's a good time.
It is. I was there all day today. Unfortunately, it was because there was a shooting at a club there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, 2 people died. It was Sunday night, and it was at a concert. And it was a very unfortunate situation.
What concert was it? Was it one of the rap shows? It
was a rap show, and then
but it probably wasn't a gangster rap show.
Happened to be one of the gentlemen who was performing that night.
Was he a trap rap artist?
I guess you could qualify him like that. They did the perp walk, so I got to interview him as they were putting him in the car, and he just wanted to put it over his Instagram and his music label, I guess. I don't know how much.
You ain't on death row. What does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. He's facing 2 counts of capital murder. I don't know.
Yeah,
how much.
Like, fuck that.
How much music he's going to be able to put out?
Yeah, ruthless records can't save you now.
Yeah. So, so unfortunately,
Wow.
I was there for that. But on the plus side, it is an absolutely beautiful day to be down by the Riverwalk, which is, one of the great parts of living in San Antonio. The one thing that's great about living here is it's dead center of the middle of the country, and it's got a decent enough airport, and I can get everywhere in 2 hours. And then on top of that, everything's affordable here. The food's pretty decent.
That's right. You got that Tex-Mex.
The wrestling scene's pretty good. So I don't have any complaints for moving here to South Texas. I'll tell you that much.
Very nice. So I understand you have this love or curiosity for B-movie films.
It's been a while, but I do like a good, solid, Japanese monster movie every once in a while. That's very good. And then other movies that are considered B movies that, I find are fantastic. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rubber.
Oh, with the tire. I love it.
Tire.
My son, dude, you fuck shit up.
Yeah. That film is shot so beautifully.
It is.
I feel like it should have been nominated just in the category of cinematography, especially for its time when they did it a number of years ago. But killer tire shooting, killing people with telekinesis. It's what could be better? And then you've got all your other Sharknadoes and versions of that, and then you go back even further to when I was a kid. One of my favorite things, I would watch pro wrestling, and then the next thing I'd be watching would be Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that evolved into riff tracks and all that great stuff. And I could right now sit down and call out sick to work for 5 days and watch nothing but MST3K and other B movies and just have a great old time.
Hell yeah. What kind of music are you into?
I bounce back and forth with a lot of stuff, and it kind of depends on what I'm doing. When I'm doing research for pro wrestling, I like to have classical piano on, just kind of have it as white noise.
Right.
But if I'm hitting the gym hard, I like stupid gangster rap's good.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Just to clang and bang to, what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That old Eazy-E. I got Eazy's figure up in the studio. We always end on Wet 'Em Up. That old NWA.
Nice.
187, it's on Dre. The Villain. I'm actually looking now to interview one of the original members of NWA, the Villain in Black.
That's super dope.
Yeah.
I'd listen to that. That'd be cool.
Hey, I like shit like that. And like that old, but that's, hey man, I'm 37. I grew up in that, and I was like a metal punk kid, but I didn't appreciate that stuff till I got a little bit older, or had friends like force me into it. But I mean, a lot of that stuff, like there's a lot of reality to it, but there was just, man, it's like even the music and the beats to that. There was like some of it's like listening to a horror movie. Like I'm a death metal dude. Like I like some of this shit, It's like it's crazy.
It's all good. And it's all about time and place, Sometimes you want to listen to old school NWA. Some days you want to listen to the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Yeah, exactly. You're in the gym tearing it up. You want to hear Tupac talk about, If you're in the gym tearing them up, Joe, you want to hear Tupac talk about hitting them up, like
exactly.
something.
Exactly. So it varies, but I think what was I listening to? I was really Last Train to London by ELO came on.
I haven't heard. Yeah,
that's a fantastic
dude.
ELO
I love
song.
ELO. Dude.
I don't think that song gets as much credit as some of their other hits.
I agree.
That's a great song.
Yeah. Totally. Dude, ELO. I'm glad you threw a shout out to them.
They're dope, man. They're dope. I mean,
for sure.
Talk about theatrics and pomp and circumstance and all that sort of operatic sort of style that comes with, ELO and Queen and all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids today could take some notes.
Yeah. I got to turn you on to my boy Brad Vanderzee from the Pink Machines. It's just a one-man band. He does our theme song. Man, he's like ELO, but mixed with fucking death metal and grind and just like Johnny Winter rock and roll and Bad Religion, Black Flag, punk rock. Like
that's what's so great is you could take all these things and mix them all up, and then it becomes your own voice.
Yeah.
And it becomes something.
And that's
new.
how,
And
that's
people
how
start to follow it.
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. That's how rock and roll happened. That's how rap happened.
Exactly.
You know, hip hop, you know, any of that musical genre shit, you know, unfortunately new metal happened. Let's get, for all you Korn fans out there, gonna break it down. I can't tell you how many lyrics Jonathan Davis from Korn wrote, and the guy's probably pushing 50 right now, about his and I'm not trying to downplay this because it's a bad subject, but like being molested when he was a little kid. It's like, all right, well, you know, we get it, John. You're like 50 now. Like it doesn't have the same fucking effect. What the hell?
Yeah, well, but at the same point, it all just kind of depends on the era you were and when you grew up. I mean, "Freak on a Leash" is a great freaking song. I mean, it hit me at that right time.
They were
a teenager
done
when it was a big hit.
To me, they were done in Life is Peachy.
I have a soft spot for Limp Bizkit just because it was just the right place, right time for me as a dumb teenager with no taste in music. And now I'm gonna go buy a red baseball cap and wear it backwards.
I get you. Hey, man, I bought $3 bill, y'all. You know, like, unfortunately, shit happens. But that was a dark time, man. I think, like, for music, like, after Cobain fucking offed himself, and then you kind of really had, like, hip-hop's, like, that killed rock pretty much for a while. And hip-hop really took over, and, like, the Master P, like, era and all that shit. And then you started to get, like, we used to call it, like, pimpcore or new metal, like the Korns, your Limp Bizkits, and even Deftones, which thankfully broke out of that. And to me, Deftones are just like heavy alternative, like almost like a 80s Duran Duran type New Order deal meets like metal, you know, like stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know, that's the great thing about music is it's always going to change and it's always going to evolve. And it at some point, even if you're stuck on particular decades or particular genres, if you just kind of put yourself out there, you'll find something new and something different that you didn't know you liked.
Yeah.
And if you're just receptive to it, and then you can start getting into some new stuff. And that's what living's all about, right? You don't want to hear the same song
that's right.
a million times. You can hear some new stuff.
You can let it dangle, you know, experiment. Yeah. So other than the Hard Times pay-per-view, which is coming up here, what else do you guys have like planned for, as far as, I guess what I'm really getting at, is it going to be like, are we going to do monthly pay-per-views with the NWA? Or are we going to get, you guys have a pay-per-view schedule, or?
I think that's an excellent question. And I think right now things are still being worked out and I don't have all the details to it. I will tell you there was a bit of concern that we might be oversaturating the market by having 2 pay-per-views with Into the Fire being about 6-7 weeks ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there was a little bit of concern that we're doing it a little too fast. So it wouldn't surprise me if you don't see us have a pay-per-view in, let's say, February.
Right.
And it stretches out a little bit past that. I mean, you keep in mind we will have our pay-per-view and then we've got 2 days of tapings. And so it's going to kind of depend on how many episodes we're going to be able to crank out then. But I think what's also going to space things out is some of the newer programming that we've got coming forward. So you're going to see some pretty big announcements tomorrow about Circle Squared and about Girl Power and how things are expanding in the NWA. And so that's going to give us a little bit of time, I think, to try to evaluate when's going to be the best time for us to go ahead and put out a pay-per-view. I will tell you that what's really great is we've already had a fantastic response for Hard Times. And so I think it's going to be as profitable as Into the Fire was. And that pay-per-view actually broke a few records with Fight TV. Yeah. So we know that we're doing something right.
Bringing back the fucking television title, man. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. And I think that tournament's going to do very well. I think people are really excited for that. And there's some amazing talents that are there. And then tomorrow you're going to hear the 2 more wrestlers that are going to be added to it. And it's going to be some pretty big surprises. These guys are real veterans in the professional wrestling industry. And they're going to be very, 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 very excited to see them in our ring at the NWA Arena.
Oh, Yeah, you know I can't wait. I need the juicy details on that off air, man. Come on.
Oh man, I you know what? I'd step on it, but I'm the one that makes the announcement, so I can't step on myself.
God damn
That's the problem.
All right.
So maybe if they had Stu Bennett making, maybe I'd kind of edge in there and be like, no, I've got the breaking news, but it's me delivering the breaking news tomorrow. So believe me, it's worth the wait.
I'm sure
we're not too far away from it. So, and that's what's great. And what's great about our show is we're always full of surprises. I mean, it's a tape show, but we also add in some extra things in there. How about our commercials? Let me.
No.
Commercials?
No. I'm gonna cállate la boca, por favor. I fucking am enveloped so wholeheartedly in those commercials that I think you guys have been kind of lacking on them a little bit. There haven't been as many. Man, they are great. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. It gives me the Tim and Eric awesome show, great job vibe.
Oh yeah.
The way they're done. And I absolutely fucking am a huge mark for Tim and Eric shit. Like, I love that stuff. And you guys nail out of the park, and you're doing it with guys like Austin Idol. And it's like, man, this is awesome. This just has this feel with it. It's fun. You're using the old school. You're mixing with new school. You got that fucking humor there. Like, it's perfect. Those commercials, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I would have kicked myself in the fucking ass forever if, had we done this episode and we didn't bring up how much I enjoy, and my girlfriend really too enjoys those commercials. They're ridiculous.
And I think that's what we're really aiming for too, is because we have that there, it adds that extra entertainment value for a lot of folks out there who might just kind of be sort of into wrestling or just getting into wrestling, and they're watching our product, to give you a nice laugh in between two big matches. It really helps out. And it's that little bit of pepper on your pizza, that red crushed pepper.
Oh, I love it. I love black
pepper. Change the flavor a little bit, and then boom, you're right back into it.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love that. And here's another thing you guys got going on, and a shout out to my buddy Mike Herman from Retrosoft Studios. We had him on the show before there was an announcement of the NWA's participation in Retromania Wrestling, which is coming out the first quarter of this year. So,
oh my God,
what does that mean? What does that mean? It means really fucking soon. For all you PC players, all you Xbox One gamers, and all you PlayStation lovers out there, it's going to be coming out. We're featuring such NWA superstars as.
Let's hear. I think
I'm kicking it over, Joe.
So I think Nick Aldis is in it.
There you go.
Nick Aldis is there. Cole Cabana, I believe, is in it. At least I think Cole Cabana is actually doing commentary on it.
Yes, he is.
So you're going to get those two guys who are doing commentary for it right there. James Storm's in it. And I'm trying to remember everybody else that was in that commercial. And it wouldn't surprise me if it continues to expand anyways. You're going to see guys that are going to be in there, and then you're going to see, as just like any of these other wrestling games, basically expansion packs and updates, and you'll start to see anybody out there that they want to put into it is going to be in it. And honestly, I can't wait to play it. That's just me. It's
awesome. And they're doing a contest right now with indie wrestlers. They have like this tournament.
That's right. I did see that.
And I'm sorry. Cool. I'm picking Warhorse for the win, man. If you're not down with JP Warhorse, then you don't know what's
Look, that's a solid pick. I don't know everybody that's on that list there. I think I've only seen a couple of folks that I know, because I haven't followed it too well on that.
Right.
But I mean, what an opportunity to be a part of a video game. I think that's what's so freaking cool.
And and in the game, you can fight for the 10 pounds of gold. Come on. So what the hell? What do you guys?
Sorry about that. I was coughing my brains out right there for a second. I had to mute that mic for you. But yeah, fighting for the 10 pounds of gold. There is, there's no other game out right now that allows you to do that.
No, and you guys get to fight in the NWA Powerrr studio. Dude, it's fucking crazy.
And you know what? And I think they did a pretty decent job on my avatar that's in that back corner. It's not 100% like me, but it's close enough.
We need guy who look like Baby Boy. My girlfriend, she was like, "You gonna be talking to the guy from NWA?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, the one that looks like a young boy."
Yes.
She's fucking. How old are you?
I was blessed with my young looks, my youthful good looks that will carry me well on into much older age. I will continue to look young. So I'm very happy with that.
Do you have any Italian in you?
I do.
There you go. It always keeps you young. Trust me.
Yeah, and greasy.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So, Joe, real quick before we end here, man, where can people find you online?
Well, the easiest way is just to follow me on Twitter. That's at Joe Galli News. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Joe Galli TV. I do TikTok now. You doing the TikTok?
Oh,
the kids?
Man, I take TikTok. My kid does TikTok.
For the kids? I try to do some fun stuff with that. It's usually just videos of my cats, but apparently they're very popular. They get lots of views. So I guess I'm doing something right. Well, and that's just my name. You can follow me at Joe Galli on TikTok.
TikTok. That's right. And where can people watch NWA?
Listen, it's the easiest pro wrestling show to watch anywhere in the world. It is on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/NWA, subscribe, click the little bell so you get the little alerts for not only when we're doing NWA Powerrr, but also a lot of the other smaller videos. Sometimes we release exclusive content that's just on there that isn't part of NWA Powerrr, and you can expect some new stuff coming up. But every Tuesday at 6:05 Eastern Time, 5:05 for you and me here in that central time zone. And it's the easiest thing. You can watch it anywhere in the world. And just like our pay-per-view, all you got to do is download the Fight TV app. You can pre-order it right now. It's going to be worth every single penny of that $20 you'll spend on it. It's going to be an amazing 2 hours of wrestling. We're crowning a new NWA television champion, and the field is just so amazing for it now. And we've got 2 big surprises coming up on our next episode of NWA Powerrr. So make sure you watch tomorrow's episode, pre-order the pay-per-view, watch Hard Times. And I tell you right now, if you haven't watched any of the NWA product up to this point, and you do that, and you watch tomorrow's episode, and you watch that pay-per-view, I guarantee you're going to be hooked onto it, and you're going to be watching it every Tuesday.
Fuck yeah. And don't forget, you guys, in Retromania Wrestling, which is coming out very soon, and all you video game consoles will get to play as some of your favorite NWA superstars, and you get to fight in the NWA Powerrr Studios setup. So fuck yeah, let's get excited for that shit. Let's get excited for Joe Galli. And you can follow Juice Pro Wrestling on any podcasting platform, any social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, tell us what you like, what you didn't like, as if we cared, it'd be 1-872-267-4199. Good Lord! Get those calls in. And, yeah, until next time, wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up. I'm so fucking wet for Joe Galli and NWA Powerrr. You know the Juice can't wait to go back into the fire. You gonna do sex to me?